another mod that I've been waiting to review for some time now, which I haven't spoken about on the channel yet. I installed it on the motorcycle some time ago, about 2 months ago, and I still haven't gotten time to talk about it, or I still have been only trying to understand it. So once I find myself some really nice spot, I will get back to you guys. This looks interesting. Very interesting. Okay, don't dig deep in, and yep, here we are. Crazy motorcycle will take you anywhere. Just look at this. What do you expect, Ben? What do you expect? Come on. Take on the sand. Here we go. Fellas, okay, one here and another here. I don't know if you guys can see it. That is a preload adjuster. Now what that does in simple layman's terms is just make the suspension a little more stiff. It becomes a little more springy and at the same time stiffer. It's not smooth, it's not plush. It doesn't go in like it's supposed to go. சொல்லுங்க சார், வீடியோ எடுத்துட்டு இருக்கேன். யூடியூப் தான் பொழப்பு. வண்டியை பற்றி பேசிட்டு இருக்கேன், வேறு எதுவும் இல்லை. அதனால தான் ரோடு கிட்ட இருக்க முடிஞ்ச அளவுக்கு. தேங்க்யூ, ரொம்ப நன்றி, தேங்க்யூ. So yep, what this does is it makes the suspension a little more stiff. That's about it. There's nothing more that goes into a preload adjuster. It's not rocket science. It just kind of pushes on the spring from the top. It's more like a spacer that pushes on the spring from the top and just makes the whole thing a little bit more stiff. Now, how do you benefit from something which is stiff? If you were to ask me, it will be a very, very subjective topic. That is, if you have or if you are used to a lot of bottoming out on your Himalayan, if you are riding around and you feel that, my suspension is bottoming out all the time, and I'm not talking fork oil that has lost its expiry. I'm talking about fellows who regularly maintain their forks, no twists, no fork warp, no fork bend, no nothing, good oil, very good oil viscosity, all in order. And if you still bottom out, then that simply means you ride hard. You do a lot of off-road stuff, you jump off things, you do a lot of rocky sections, you do a lot of crazy off-road stuff, and you have understood by now that the Himalayan's front suspension, not the new ones, the 2021 ones, I don't know what they've changed, but they are surprisingly correct, if you ask me. For me, everything is a subjective matter here. So I'm talking about how it is for me. The new Himalayans are good for me, but of course I can push it and make it as good as mine, this one. But the BS4, that is my particular model, this model had a suspension in the front which used to bottom out at every given opportunity. For somebody who's starting to ride serious off-road, you will understand what I'm talking about. This suspension is amazing, super plush, just soaks in everything and keeps you going very comfortably. But that is only if you intend on touring with the motorcycle, or if you do a bit of very mild off-road stuff every now and then. But for fellas, whoa, nothing. But for fellas who are very serious about off-road, crazy off-road sections, rocks, bumps, name it, and then high-speed sections where there's just ditch, you're going at a very good speed, and then you suddenly have a ditch, the earth runs down and then climbs up, and then you're at a very high speed, and you kind of clear it, and then you land against the ridge that climbs up. You don't want the front to bottom out and then just leave you off balance. So from whatever little that I understand about suspension, I can say that these preload adjusters have made my suspension stiffer, and by that I mean I have a little more confidence now. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels of adjustment. I keep it at the bottommost level, is because if I keep it at the bottommost level, then is when the suspension is adjusted well to my body weight. When Ashi is riding with me, I go 1 step or 1.5, 2 steps higher. I push the spring a little more. So when Ashi is there with me, it kind of helps with the load. Off-road and Ashi, not just Ashi on the tarmac. Ashi with me on off-road, it's pretty easy. Take a 14mm spanner and start twisting this upper bolt or nut. The whole thing is made up of high-density plastic, so it's pretty easy to handle this. Just start cranking it, 2 turns in, and it's good for Ashi. Without Ashi, I'm at the bottommost setting, at the least setting. That way, the sag setting of the front suspension is matched to my body weight. It's still not matched. I still am a little lighter for that sag setting, but this helps me with what I do. Crazy off-road sections, this is amazing. It just takes the hit and doesn't really bottom out. The front doesn't bottom out anymore. The other day I was trying to ride at night, and man oh man, this was the only saving factor. There was an apartment, the entrance of the apartment was onto the road, which was pitch black, dark, no lights, no nothing, no street lamps, and I was doing about 60-70 kilometers an hour. But I just did not see what was in front of me. Right in front of the apartment, they had kind of made a small patch on the road, cemented it. There was some kind of a ditch, it seems, and they had cemented it. And to avoid vehicles crossing over on wet cement, they had placed twice as big a rock like this on the road. Maybe something like this with a step to climb over, this big. So I was at about 60 kilometers an hour, and I hit that rock at that speed. I didn't even see the rock. They should have placed something like a reflector or a red flag with a reflector, something like a warning. But they had just kept rocks to avoid people crossing that cemented ground. So I went in like that and hit the rock. That was this high at not less than 60 kilometers an hour. It was pitch black, and I couldn't see where I was going. So hit, jump, I would have at least been 3 to 4 feet in the air. The bike just went wheeling and landed. Nothing, absolutely nothing. No bottoming out, no nothing. The bike took it like it was nothing. I used to wheelie some time ago when I was young, and I know from experience that this is wheeling friendly. So that helps with wheeling. If somebody wants to do or make the Himalayan a stunt motorcycle, then this is the first edition, if you ask me. This is what you're supposed to get. If you get this, you will not crack your frame, your chassis, your collar. So as simple as that. This is what it is. It is not rocket science like how it is understood. I will definitely attach a link to this product, and you guys can go ahead and purchase it and add it to your motorcycles. If and only if you're starting to bottom out every single time you ride off-road. That means your skill levels are surpassing the suspension's ability to keep up with you. So the suspension is not good enough for a rider who's starting to be a little more pushy off-road. And that is where this will come in. A simple instrument starts pushing the spring from the inside and adds preload to the suspension. Just about preload, adding preload, just like the rear, how we do it. But the front is a totally different matter when you do off-road. You really need a front that responds well to you. And another very important thing, if you add this and if you get a stiffer spring in the front, your speeds are going to go up. You will naturally start riding faster off-road. So when you ride faster off-road, you should understand what are the consequences of it as well. And to counter the consequences, like a sudden bottom out, a sudden swaying of the front end, you will need something like a preload adjuster. So it comes around full circle. If you start riding faster, then you need something which is like a spring that is not too whooshy and too soft. You need something which is stiff, which can take in the beating. And that is where this helps you. And when you have this installed, you tend to ride faster and faster and faster. So with every passing day or passing month or passing year, depending on how quickly you learn, you can start adding tension to it, and it works accordingly. So this is an amazing addition on the motorcycle for somebody who's starting to ride faster off-road. So with that, I would like to call it quits. Hope you liked the location and the video. I'm gonna be getting back on the road, and yep, we'll see you guys on another one. Until then, this is Ben signing out for now. Ciao. Headed back home in style, huh? A little too windy these days.